the idea of Milner, Henderson and Keita up against Kroos, Modric and Casemiro suddenly looks very favourable for Real Madrid if that's the case.
275 to 1. Biggest game of the season. Let's go all in. We're having it.
People have to stop saying that he's a bad defender. But at times he struggles against this kind of oppositions, and I think he could have a torrid time against Vinicius.
Courtois and Allison, are they the two best goalkeepers in the world at the moment?
For me, the game could also be won off the bench. Rodrigo, Camavinga, Jota, Firmino. I think Firmino could have a really key part to play. You know exactly what I was going to say. I mean, the guy has been incredible, 34 years old. He turned 34 at the end of December. The best season of his life.
Yes, everybody, welcome back. This is Baller, brought to you by Who Scored in association with Ladbrokes Five-A-Side. And it's the final show of the season. I'm your host, Ste Howson. Joining with me today is Julien Laurens, live from Paris, not jealous. And we've also got Who Scored's very own Josh. We're going to be previewing the Champions League final. This is a completely neutral board. None of us here have got any suggestions of where we want to see this go or anything. But before we dive into the talking points this week, listen, there's 4, or as I like to call it, 3 simple steps that you need to do to get involved in Ladbrokes Five-A-Side. You got to pick your formation. You got to choose your players. You got to select their stats. And why you'd stop there and not submit it, I don't know. But apparently the 4th one is to submit those. Minimum £1 bet. And all you got to do for that is just £1 bet. And you got the chance to win the share of £1,000 for our exclusive Cash League. And not only that, Ladbrokes are also dishing out £1 free bets for all entrants. So it's simple. You can have a free bet for £1. And we'll be running through where we think the value lies during the show. We've got some talking points about the final, and then we'll finish it up giving you our teams. And I've gone big this week. Very, very big. Josh, shall we start it off? Courtois and Allison, are they the two best goalkeepers in the world at the moment?
I think they're certainly up there. Alisson was the goalkeeper in our Premier League team this season. Courtois is the goalkeeper in our Champions League team this season. I think they're both extremely valuable to their teams, but for different ways. I think Alisson's certainly more of a risk taker with his decision making, a bit more unorthodox, whereas I think Courtois brings an element of calm and composure to what can be a pretty dicey and erratic Real Madrid back four. Alisson doesn't always get it right with his feet. But I don't think Jurgen Klopp would change that for the world, to be honest. I think he's so important to the way they attack and also as his fundamental job as a goalkeeper. I always find with Liverpool that it's even though they play such a high line, that it can be such a struggle just to penetrate that high line. And then once you do, you've got to try and find a way past Alisson. He has such an aura in those one-on-one positions that when you are there, I think he's so quick to shut down the space. That I think it actually rushes forwards decision-making. I think that often leads to them making the wrong decision and Alisson's able to save. Funnily enough, though, his save success rate in the Champions League is actually the lowest in the entire competition at just 50%. Courtois, on the other hand, who hasn't made a single error leading to an opposition goal in any competition this season, he's got the best, which is quite remarkable, really, when you think that Real Madrid have actually conceded quite a lot of goals this season. Especially in the knockout stage, but it would have just been far worse had he not been there. He's made 49 saves in his 12 appearances. I think he saved the best one for last to deny Jack Grealish with his studs, which is sort of overlooked that save because of how frantic and mental that sort of final 15 minutes was in that semi-final. But yeah, but he hasn't really had, Courtois has not really had an easy night all season in the Champions League. If you think of the run that Real Madrid have had, it started with Paris Saint-Germain, obviously the champions of France. Then they beat the defending European champions in Chelsea. And then they beat the current Premier League champions in Man City. And to win it, they've got to beat Liverpool, who many would say are the top 2 teams in Europe. So two amazing goalies. I think I would personally prefer Alisson because I like his aura, the aura that he has in those one-on-one situations, how proactive he is there. But yeah, two right at the top of their game, and they're going to be crucial for their teams.
Yeah, I agree with everything Josh said. If you look at the expected goals conceded for the one-on-one situation that Josh was describing for Alisson, it's incredible. I think he saved 8 goals more than what he was supposed to concede. And he's got that. You could argue that he's got a better defense ahead of him, which I think is true. And the fact that Liverpool have a lot of the ball and that they counter press and play much higher on the pitch maybe helps him, compared to Real Madrid, where Courtois pretty much in every single game, even in La Liga, has had to make one outstanding save to not concede, which is not the case for Alisson. So they're so close, very different. Courtois doesn't really like being too proactive and doesn't play so much a high line himself. Probably the Charlie Adam goal when he was at Chelsea from the halfway line, just saying like, I'm never going to be too far up my goal ever again now. But yeah, it's two different styles. I think you need to pick where you feel like who the style you think fits the most. I agree with Josh though. I think for me, Alisson is slightly ahead of Courtois right now.
From two players that are not probably going to meet actually on the pitch, at least in any sort of duels, to two players that I absolutely can't wait to see in an actual duel, and that is Trent against Vinicius. For me, I don't know how much I'm putting on this. This is where I think the game could be lost from a Liverpool perspective. Josh, what's the stats saying?
Yeah, I think from all the individual battles on the pitch, I think this is going to be the key one, especially from Real Madrid's perspective of trying to win the game. I think if you look at when these two teams met in the quarterfinals last season, it was those runs that Vinicius made in behind Trent that really caused them all the problems. I would say Nat Phillips was probably more at fault for the first goal than Trent, but then Trent wasn't in the right position to cover. And then it was from that sort of that fear that led to the panicking decision that Trent made to do that bad header for their second goal. But obviously Liverpool will have Virgil van Dijk and probably Konate rather than Nat Phillips and Ozan Kabak in this game. So it does change it slightly, but I still think the idea will remain the same for Real Madrid. They need to try and pinpoint those perfect passes over the top of Trent Alexander-Arnold for Vinicius to run through on. And yeah, as you said, that's definitely the big battle, I think, heading into this one.
I think this is the key. You're right. I think what could be even more the key is if Real Madrid managed to get the overlap from Mendy and then suddenly Trent, if Salah, we know Salah does the defensive bit or certainly what he has to do, but maybe if Real Madrid can have even more with Mendy facing Trent Alexander-Arnold, even more pressure on him, having those overlaps, the 2v1s, I think Trent will struggle. We saw that often against Chelsea because they play with the wing backs, where Trent really struggled between the wing back and whoever plays as a winger or as a number 10 for Chelsea, where he's not really sure if he has to go to the wing back or stay more central. And I think he still has those issues defensively in a way. He's not a bad defender. Klopp is right. People have to stop saying that he's a bad defender. But at times he struggles against this kind of oppositions. And I think he could have a torrid time against Vinicius. We saw Kyle Walker doing so well against Vinicius because he had the pace, but also he had that more defensive mindset, which Trent doesn't have. However, if you force Vinicius to defend on Trent because Trent takes up those positions high up on the pitch, then maybe that could be a problem. And maybe that's the way Liverpool can win this battle, by forcing Vinicius to think a bit more defensively about Trent than Trent thinking a bit more offensively about Vinicius.
In that meeting last year, I think what probably caught Liverpool off guard was that Vinicius at that time, he was a talented player, but he didn't really have any end product. I think that was his two goals against Liverpool on that night was the first time he'd ever scored more than once in a game for Real Madrid. So I think that maybe caught them off guard. And as you said, Julien, Ferland Mendy, I think he was the reason why Trent was in the wrong position for the first goal that they conceded that night, because Trent was watching where Ferland Mendy was and completely let Vinicius run in between him and Nat Phillips on the night. So yeah, those two doubling up, trying to maneuver Trent into a position where he's not in the right position is going to be really important.
It's going to be this entire side of the pitch, isn't it? Let's be honest. You know, if Salah and Trent are going to overload anywhere, it will be down this flank, and if Liverpool can be got at anywhere, it's literally down this flank. So it's going to be a case of who's the braver out of the two. I don't think this is going to be as high scoring game as this would have been if it was a quarter or a semi-final, or even a group stage game. I think the cautiousness that you'll go into a final with means that one mistake or one moment of genius could actually swing this entire football match. And I fully expect it to be on this side of the pitch, in whichever direction that ends up going. And it's who's going to be brave enough to try and play their game. I mean, I think Real Madrid really suit being a bit of a counter-attacking side at the moment, and I don't think they'll panic with Liverpool having a lot of the ball. Will Liverpool push us forward and as relentlessly as they normally do with it being a Champions League final, or are they going to maybe adopt a different sort of more cautious style of play to not concede that all-important first goal first? I think this is going to be a fascinating matchup down this side of the pitch. Another thing that's going to be a huge decision for Carlo Ancelotti is, does Camavinga start? He's got all the experience he could want in midfield, but is the X factor with Camavinga?
I don't think he should change anything compared to what we've seen in previous runs, in the sense that Camavinga has had such an incredible impact off the bench for the last half hour, the last 25 minutes. Then when extra time happened in the City second leg, then I did that time as well. That there's no reason for Carlo to think, why would I change that when I've got an incredible weapon on the bench? Same with Rodrigo. I can bring on if needed. The thing about Camavinga, I think, is that he brings you so much energy in a short amount of time. Also because he's so young and just I don't think he thinks too much about, can I do this, can I do that? He's got that kind of craziness, really, that you bring him on and he can change the whole game. For me, as much as we've built up this Vinicius v Trent battle, which is great, for me the game could also be won on off the bench. The substitutions, Rodrigo, Camavinga, Jota, Firmino. I think Firmino could have a really key part to play coming off the bench in that game because he's not going to start. And I think Camavinga is part of this process for Carlo to, okay, I know he can come on and win me the game like he did in the semi-final and the quarterfinals.
I think what really impressed me most about Camavinga in that second leg against Man City was, as you said, Julien, he brought that energy, but he was also remarkably calm in that time when the game was at its most frantic. He certainly didn't look out of place for a 19-year-old in the Champions League semi-final, which is a great credit to him. And I looked into the impact that he has made coming off the bench. So with Camavinga on the pitch this season in the Champions League knockouts, Real Madrid have scored 9 goals and only conceded twice, compared to 9 goals conceded and only 5 scored when he's not been on the pitch. And obviously, he's come on in games pretty much when Real Madrid are chasing it. So it's perhaps not a surprise they've scored more. But I think the fact that they've only conceded twice in that time is just a testament really to the impact he has made in making sure that they're not caught at the back when they're trying to push forward. And I guess the decision for Ancelotti would be against his style, I think, to drop someone like Kroos. And I think if you did drop Kroos, then you're really limiting the one player that can really hit those passes over the top. So I think it would be a surprise if he did make that change from the start. But yeah, Camavinga from the bench, what a player for the future they've got there.
We're talking about Real Madrid's midfield. Liverpool have got some problems potentially in their midfield. There's talk that they might be missing Thiago, they might be missing Fabinho. Could we see Klopp go with a midfield of Keita, Milner and Henderson in this game?
I hope not for him. I really don't. I mean, I've got nothing against them. They're good players, but they're not to the level of Thiago and Fabinho. But if they're not fit, maybe you start a Henderson 100% fit more than a Thiago Alcantara 60% fit. I don't know. The key there is Fabinho is, and again, we go back to Trent and we go back to that battle with Vinicius. Fabinho is doing such an incredible job at coming and help and cutting off the counter-attacks. We've seen that in many games this season, or coming out and help Trent on that right-hand side more than the right midfielder who's going to be chasing the ball and counter-pressing and pressing anywhere. So Fabinho's role is going to be huge, even in that Vinicius v Trent battle. If it's him, I think he's the best in the world at doing that. If it's not him, however, I think this would be a big plus for Real Madrid if they don't have a Fabinho helping out Trent in the one-on-one with Vinicius.
You saw that at the weekend against Wolves. They really struggled to pick up Raul Jimenez as he dropped off the defence to pick up the ball, to then pass it to Pedro Neto or whoever it was on the wing for Wolves. He really, really frustrated Liverpool and really hurt them like that. And Benzema will obviously do the same. He loves dropping a bit deeper, picking up the ball, creating spaces for Vinicius in behind him or playing those passes with him. And if Fabinho's not there, which he looks like he probably will be because he trained yesterday or on Wednesday, that's a massive plus for Liverpool and a massive negative for Real Madrid. But I think the impact that both Fabinho and Thiago have on the pitch is a real game changer for Liverpool, and just defensively and offensively, the balance they bring. I looked into how Liverpool have fared in matches when neither have started. So when they have started, they've won 17 of 20 matches with 13 clean sheets. A win ratio drops from 85% when they've both started to just 69% when that partnership's broken up. So there's definitely a notable drop-off there if he's not able to call them. And I think even if they are both able to start, and as we've seen, Salah's only just come back, Van Dijk was an unused sub at the weekend, they're probably not going to be at their full fitness. And I do think that does swing the tie slightly into more balanced into Real Madrid's favour. But yeah, the idea of Milner, Henderson and Keita up against Kroos, Modric and Casemiro suddenly looks very favourable for Real Madrid if that's the case.
Right, the big one. We said the best for last here. The talking point we all want to talk about. the Ballon d'Or showdown, and I think whoever wins this game has got a very, very strong shout for potentially coming out number one in that race. Karim Benzema versus Mo Salah. Is it going to be one of these that decides this game?
Karim the Dream. You know exactly what I was going to say. I mean, the guy has been incredible. 34 years old. He turned 34 at the end of December. The best season of his life, of his career. At 34 years old, I'm not sure how many players in the past, and we see it with Messi, for example. When you get to a certain age, obviously, it shows. But with him, it's the other way around. It's incredible. But I do think this is the last step. He's been carrying this team. He's been incredible both in the league and in Europe. The hat-trick against PSG, the hat-trick against Chelsea, all the goals, the fact that he's been unplayable at times, but also the way he set up the Rodrigo goal against City, for example, in the second leg. All of that, all his all-around game, the awareness, the movement. We mentioned Raúl Jiménez and how a similar role Benzema will have to cause a lot of problems to Liverpool. But this is it. This is where he has to do it one more time, the final time in the biggest game of all. He's been there before. Obviously, he's won this competition 4 times. But this is the one. I still expect him to win the Ballon d'Or, even if Real Madrid don't win on Saturday, even if Liverpool and Salah and Mane shine or whoever they want. I still think he's been the best player in the world this year, this season, this football season. But if he does it even again on Saturday, I think he'd be undebatable.
I think it comes down to what your criteria is for the Ballon d'Or, because if it is on the best player, then as Julien said, Benzema has been the most consistent player over the course of the season. I don't think he's gone more than 2 games without scoring for Real Madrid this season. Mo Salah was certainly in that category up until December. I think he had 24 goal involvements in 17 games or something like that, which is twice as more as any other Premier League player. But he's obviously only scored in 3 of his last 19, I think it is, heading into Saturday, which obviously isn't great. I think Sadio Mane is probably in the conversation as well. If you look at silverware one, he's obviously won the League Cup and FA Cup with Liverpool, obviously. He won the AFCON in January. He knocked Salah's Egypt out of the World Cup as well. And there's no World Cup before the Ballon d'Or presentation in October. So AFCON is really the only international tournament that can go into this. And obviously Mane has that. So if Liverpool win, then maybe people look at silverware as well, and maybe that swings it to Mane. But I agree with Julien that Benzema has been by far the most consistent player. I think having, as Julien said as well, like he's got those Champions Leagues, but people would probably attribute that to Cristiano Ronaldo. So for him to do that as the leader of this team would just be the icing on the cake, I think, for his season.
And literally all the planet is behind you, Karim. Right, let's have a look at the team then. Josh, you want to give us the Who Scored team?
Yeah, you have got some bigger odds than me, but here
yes, I do.
We've got Eder Militao to make 2+ tackles. He's averaging more than 2 a game in the Champions League this season. We've got Casemiro to be carded. He's already been booked in the Champions League final in his career. He's got 17 in all competitions this season for Real Madrid. Seems like an obvious guy to try and chop down one of Liverpool's forwards on the break or something like that. Then we've got Trent to have a shot from outside the box. He's had 9 of his 10 shots in the Champions League this season have been from outside the box. And he's obviously going to try and test Courtois from distance, we feel. Then we've got Mo Salah to have 3+ shots. Even though Sergio Ramos won't be on the pitch or he's not a Real Madrid player, he's desperate for revenge against Real Madrid. He only played for 32 minutes against Wolves on the weekend, and he had 8 shots, which was his joint record in a Premier League game this season. So he's definitely going to have a few sighters, even if he doesn't score. And then obviously, as we've talked about him before, Karim the Dream. We've got him to score, top goal scorer in the competition. He's on a 5-game scoring streak as well in the knockout stage. So yeah, that's our team. So it's Militao for 2+ tackles, Casemiro to be carded, Trent to have a shot from outside the box, Salah to have 3+ shots, and Benzema to score. And that's at 20-1, which is going to be absolutely dwarfed by your teams.
So I went because I want to win this time, because I haven't won in my previous appearances. So I went a bit more measured than even used to. I've got Salah with at least 4 shots. I agree. I was impressed how many times he was shooting on at the weekend against Wolves. I've got Karim the Dream to score, because this is what he does in the Champions League. He scored. He's got 14, I think, already, and the expected goals was 7. So something crazy. I've got Trent with at least 70 passes and Cruz at least 70 passes, because I think the ball is going to come to them quite a lot and quite naturally. And then the final one is Militao to get booked. I think he's got 4 yellows already in the Champions League this season. So there's potential for a 5th one in the final to make sure I win my bet.
What's your odds?
47-1. It's not bad. It's not. It's better than Josh, who went clearly wimpy.
Right. As I read them out, you're not going to be sitting there going, "This is crazy." But then I'll give you the odds, and you go, "That's crazy," right? Fabinho to make 4 tackles. Now, again, I've gone with the injury doubt.
He's fine. He trained on Wednesday. He'll start.
Yeah.
He'll start.
Trent to make 1 assist. Could see that happening.
Yeah.
Van Dijk 80 passes.
Fair enough.
Casemiro to be carded.
That's what I think as well. Yeah.
And Karim Benzema to score 2.
2. Oh man.
275 to 1.
This is it.
Good.
This is how you finish the season on a high.
Yeah,
Exactly.
biggest game of the season. Let's go all in. We're having it. So if you fancy getting a bit of that, 275 to 1. I think what bumped it up a little bit was Karim scoring twice. But I'll give you the score there. 2-1 Real Madrid is what I'm thinking. And I would love nothing more for that to be the 91st and the 99th minute. That would absolutely do me fine.
As always, please do gamble responsibly. It's a minimum £1 bet to get involved. Enter into the league, which is either in the YouTube description of this video or on our socials. Winning bets are ranked from largest odds to smallest, and you don't actually need all of your selections to come in to have a chance of winning. The winning prize is £500 on top of your bet, £250 for the second place, and then so on. And obviously, all entrants are guaranteed a £1 free bet this time from Ladbrokes. So it's really a no-lose situation, really. But obviously, do please gamble responsibly and make sure you're 18 or over. Right,
that's it from us. Last game of the season. Cheers to you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. And obviously, enjoy the final should Real Madrid win. See you in a bit.